All right, we're live. SCMP MMA, the post-fight podcast. I'm Nick. That's Drake. We are gonna recap and react to UFC Vegas 19, where I had another brilliant night, Drake, on my picks with Fanatics Fantasy MMA app. I think you'll agree. I
Oh
went
yes.
4-8. I think I did. I don't really want to see it, but I'm gonna bring up the leaderboard on screen anyway.
Have
How did
to.
you do?
I think I finished with seven. Seven wins.
Okay. How far
I was
down the
killing it
score?
early.
Yeah,
I was
I was not killing it at any
There
point. You
we
were
are.
20th. Yeah, 7 right, 5 wrong. You had a bad run on that main card,
Yup.
didn't you?
Yup.
And I just had a bad run the whole night. Oh god, I'm down in the basement. I don't even
Hanging
know.
out
I'm
with
keep
Chris.
scrolling, hanging out with Chris. 48th. Okay, not terrible. Not oh, it is
Hey, you
terrible.
beat him though.
I
Still
beat
beat him.
Chris. That's all I care about. Oh yes. Okay. Um, well, yeah, we're gonna get into all of these picks and sorry, all the picks we made in all the fights, and then we'll look at the overall leaderboard at the end of the month. If you don't know, you got to go to getfanatics.app, or you can go to the App Store, download it. We've got the SCMP MMA group in there. It's really easy. We've got over 100 people in there now. Come join the fun. It's really fun during fight night. I was making some comments. I'm sure you were as well, Drake, today. It
Mm-hmm.
kind of enhances the viewing experience. Really fun. But anyway, we're here to talk about all these fights. I have to reset that. There you go. Okay, the main event: Curtis Razor Blaydes against Derek Lewis. Now, we all picked Curtis Blaydes. I think we all thought he was just going to wrestle Derek Lewis, get the decision, as he does sometimes, or get that ground and pound TKO as he does as well. Look, Derek Lewis, I think you can call that an upset. He was
Yeah.
plus 315 there, you can see with Vegas. And he caught him as Blaydes came in for takedown in the second round. He'd already stuffed a single leg in that second round. And then as Blaydes shot in again, Lewis uppercut. Blaydes went stiff as a board, fell to the canvas in the octagon. He was out for minutes, wasn't he? He was just
Mm-hmm.
about sitting up again when they came back from the ad break. One of those scary KOs. I mean, I've just seen an even worse one in the boxing. Valdez. I don't know if you've
I
seen it
heard
yet.
about this. I didn't see it though. It's all on Twitter
Yeah.
as well.
Oh,
People talking about it.
yeah, crazy that one. I mean, yeah, this wasn't as bad as that, but yeah, Lewis is he back in the title mix now? He said afterwards to Michael Bisping, "I know John Jones is coming up, so I'm not going to say I'm fighting for the title next."
Smart.
Kind of made a vague call out for Izzy if Izzy comes up to heavyweight, but Izzy's got to do light heavyweight first. What is next for Derek Lewis, Drake? I mean, do you wait? Obviously, see if Ngannou beats Stipe, and then Lewis is beaten Francis. So that, but that was one of the worst matches of all time.
Yeah,
Would
does
the
that
UFC be
count?
willing to go back to it? Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, the floor is yours.
um Well, it's really interesting, man, because this is like Curtis Blades was looking very good and surprisingly a limited wrestling approach. I was waiting in that first round. He's backing Derek up, and I was like, oh, that double leg is there. He's about to blast it. He's got him right where he wants him. Never came because he was doing well enough on the feet, I imagine. Working the leg kick. He was just looking very good. But that is the weird thing about Derek Lewis is he just he loses all of his fights essentially until he wins them, right? He's all his best knockouts, his highlight reel consists of him losing in the first round or two, however many, and then he comes back and knocks people out emphatically, tremendously, knocks them dead. That's what we saw tonight. And where does he go from here? Yeah, he's definitely right up there. What this is 4 wins in a row for him now. Yeah, 4 wins in a row. Of course, John Jones getting himself in the mix. Presumably, I'm still not buying that he's going to heavyweight until we see it. So, waiting out on that, but I'm assuming that will happen. Got to wait for that to play out with Stipe and Francis coming up. I think that the fight to make is pretty clearly the rematch with Volkov. Or of course, you could do the winner of next week's bout between Gain and Rosenstruik, but I don't know. I like the Volkov one better because, well, first of all, how that first fight played out. Pretty much, the stereotypical Derek Lewis fight, as I said, loses pretty clearly until he doesn't. Um, But yeah, both those guys are up there. You could argue title shots for either of them now, but they're both going to have to wait no matter what. Volkov is probably very happy that Lewis won this fight, considering he lost to Blaydes more recently than Lewis. So I think that's probably the way to go. If you don't go that way, then you have to go Rosenstruik, the Rosenstruik or Gain winner. I see people mentioning Overeem because Lewis mentioned Overeem, but that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. You can't you can't do that after Volkov just beat Overeem the way that he did that. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So yeah, for me, I would go Volkov next. I would be very interested in that rematch, considering what has happened since then and how that first fight played out. I think that is the way to go while heavyweight sorts itself out, aside from these men.
I don't know if you mentioned it as well, but the Lewis now has 20 career knockouts and 12 in the UFC, tying Vitor Belfort for the record. Incredible stuff. Yeah, let us know in the comments. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people made some money on that. Sammy Arnett saying the old sidestep uppercut by Derek Lewis there. Kind of like
right into
Oh wait, Chris is here in the comments. What's up, Chris? With Lewis beating Blaydes and Ngannou, if he beats Stipe and John Jones, has he cleared out the division?
Yeah. That's an interesting question. That is very interesting because I think there's probably a case for that. If you look at, like you said, he has technically beaten Ngannou. But yeah, he's beaten a lot of the guys like Volkov, Blaydes. He has beaten Ngannou. Those are just some of the top ones right there in that mix. Yeah, I mean, at the immediate top, if he is to, let's say, beat Stipe, then, or Ngannou, I guess, if he beats him in a rematch, and then John Jones, leaves him with some very unknown options of what would be freshest and everything. Of course, it probably, somebody, I already mentioned, would be the Rosenstruik Gain winner, two people that he hasn't fought yet, so... And then, of course, I mean, later in this card, earlier tonight, we saw some other heavyweights emerging. Don't know how quickly those guys will rise up to the Derek Lewis levels of the division and whatnot, but there is new blood at heavyweight, as we saw tonight.
Yeah, we'll get into it later. Tom Aspinall, Chris Daukaus, very good stuff. Tan Nguyen saying here, I want to see Derek Lewis become a champ. That would be so much fun. Yeah, you know what? I thought this was Derek Lewis's worst interview for a while after the fight. He didn't say anything. Normally you get some classic lines out of him, and I thought he was going to do something here, but didn't rise to it. Or maybe Bisping didn't ask the right questions. But he's a very fun guy. I loved all the pre-fight interviews, as always. And look, this guy's got incredible power, hasn't he? Yeah. He can knock anyone out. Tristan here, Tristan Showhouse saying, I bet on Curtis Blaydes inside the distance. Tough because Blaydes was telegraphing the takedown a bit there. Yeah, very good read by Derek Lewis. Not sure what else we could say. Yeah, there's clear fights ahead at heavyweight in the title scene. So Lewis maybe stuck a little bit in limbo to see how things play out. But yeah.
It's just what do we do with Blaydes after this now? Like, how quickly should he come back after a very devastating knockout? Who should it be against? Yeah. I mean, where would you want to see Blaydes go from here, Nick? I mean, probably a little bit more options.
Yeah, it's tough for Blaydes, I think, because every time he gets this momentum, he gets shut down right at the final hurdle. The Francis knockout, and he's building himself back up again. Now this has happened. It's heavyweight, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's heavyweight. Man. It's never going to be easy, and I'm sure this isn't the end of him. I think he can come back again, and that fight could have gone differently. It could have.
Yep.
I thought there were some wild exchanges. I think at the end of the first round, and he hurt Derek Lewis. I thought pretty bad. Or maybe Lewis, he likes to play possum a little bit, doesn't he? And then come out.
That Travis Brown fight, jeez.
Yeah. But, well, fair play to Lewis. I don't think many people called it. So, yeah, great main event. Great show overall, I thought.
Yeah.
A lot of finishes, weren't there? I think just 2 or 3 decisions. But a lot of those first fights were all finishing inside the second round. Let's get through to them, though. Let's go down this card. The co-main event, for me, did not really enjoy this one. Yana Kunitskaya getting the decision against Ketlin Vieira. I think scorecards were, let me get it up here. Yana got 29-28 on all three cards. Vieira not doing enough in top position, I think. Round one was all Caitlin. Yana's second round. Yana ended the third round with some big shots, doing the damage. Nasty big elbow, open up a huge cut. That probably swayed the judges, didn't it? And then the striking stats were crazy. 178
Those
total
couldn't have been
strikes,
right. Those could not have been
16 for
accurate.
Vieira. Yeah, I mean, 3 takedowns though for Caitlin, but she wasn't doing much with it. What, 7 minutes and a half ground control time? But yeah, the story is you got to do stuff when you get on top, don't you, Drake?
Yeah, this was very interesting. Well, first of all, how the fight played out, because it met expectations and it didn't at the same time. Especially the second round with Yana getting the top position in the second round and dominating that one enough over somebody like Ketlin, who we haven't really seen her on her back, and for Yana to be able to put her in that spot was interesting. I enjoyed this fight from what's going to happen here in these positions kind of aspect. It's interesting though because it very clearly came down to the third round, and Yana really only landed about 3 really very good shots. Obviously, cut Ketlin immediately with that elbow at the end of the fight. But just the entire rest of that round was Ketlin on top and in very good positions. And of course, if you're, let's say, in the full guard for the entire round, and not really doing anything with it, a very neutral position, as we know. But, she was transitioning and getting, I'm pretty sure she was even in mount at one point, went for some arm triangles. Maybe that was earlier in the fight, but her control on top was a lot more active in terms of grappling. Yeah, she wasn't landing a lot of damage or whatever, but it feels a little bit weird. And maybe I'm thinking more with the old rules in this this mindset here with all of that time and then only taking about 3 shots. It feels weird. I get it with the new rules and how damage is the number one thing it should be, but it feels funny to me, because I did score this for Ketlin, and maybe I'm thinking more in the old rules with this sense, as I just mentioned, but not super mad at it because, I do like both of them, but it makes me feel this fight made me feel not as good about the hopes for the bantamweight division, and I was hoping for the opposite outcome after this, so a little bit of a bummer in that regard.
Yeah, just to make it clear, the records here are not updated on this browser for Fanatics, but I've been on the WhatsApp messages to James over at Fanatics HQ, and he's going to sort that out for us for next week, and also going to add a couple other bells and whistles. If you don't have the app, download the app, because this is just a little web browser he's made for me, but you get way more info and everything there. It's a lot sleeker. But yeah, a couple of questions going back to the main event in the chat, so we should just get through them now. Blaydes against Rosenstruck or Cyril Gane loser? Do you like that fight?
Yeah, I think that totally works. That's probably the way to go, because I was thinking, all right, who do you give Blaydes to? And Overeem came to mind. I was like, oh well, they're teammates now. That's not happening. Yeah, that's probably the perfect move to make, Tristan. It's kind of like a small heavyweight tournament of sorts between these contenders. I'm fine with that.
Yep, and now JHK in the chat. JHK's not on the show.
He's popping and teasing us with his presence.
Missed you. Yeah, but he says, could we see Blaydes leave and go to Bellator? So is Blaydes now free agent? Is that the end of his contract? How many fights he got left?
I don't think so, but I saw this topic discussed earlier this week, and I don't know if it was by anybody or just on James Lynch's Q&A, because shout out to James. I do check out his Q&As every week when I can.
Of course.
So, yeah, James is the man. So somebody mentioned it on there, and I think that's where I saw this being talked about, because Blaydes is kind of a guy who, typically admits what he's going to do, imposes his will with his wrestling. Didn't do it tonight, kind of surprisingly, but the fact that he's so open and careless about not being an entertainer. Dana hasn't really liked some of the things he said in the past. He wasn't really happy with the Volkov performance. If he becomes a free agent, and let's say this is the end of his contract, for example, I could definitely see him testing the waters and seeing if Bellator would want him, or one, or whoever it may be, because why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they want a top 5 guy on their roster. And when the UFC seems kind of, maybe wouldn't want to pay him as much as he might ask for, especially after a loss. It's kind of similar to Corey Anderson, I feel like, with Blaydes. You look at him and how he was on this great run, saying, he should be in line for a title. Wasn't really getting respect in the rankings. Not the same level for Blaydes here, but very similar, I think. And now when Corey lost, he dipped out. Blaydes just lost. Could be a similar thing. I don't think he'll be cut, but it'll be very interesting to see what kind of offers the UFC make him once he does hit free agency, because I'm pretty sure that will happen. Like, he's not going to renegotiate before free agency is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think Bellator could be a good home for Curtis Blaydes. I think he'll get treated with more respect, as you said. The UFC just doesn't seem to like him that much. I don't think they want to get behind him.
Yeah.
And also, it's a tough path back to him to get back in the title picture. But anyway, Sammy Arnett, again, he's saying, gotta love Cyril Gane, especially the way he moves in and out of striking range so casually. Yep. Tristan here saying, if the UFC give Chris Daukaus the fast track, Blaydes versus Daukaus could be crazy too. You don't like that?
Too soon for me. And we'll get into the Daukaus talk, but
we'll get into Daukaus. But what I like, Bisping pushed him twice to say, call someone out, man. Come on,
right?
Who do you want? And then he was very hesitant. But I think he's going to be 10th now, right? Because he just took out Olenek.
You would think. Yeah.
Yep, there you go. But then he kind of jokingly said, Stipe then, if you're going to call someone out.
Yeah, that's exactly the way to go.
Anyway, we will move down the card. Let's bring that back up here. Over to Fanatics. Scroll down. Just should note as well, we all got that wrong. All four of us here. So, we're all struck out in the main angle. Exactly. Yes, we all fucked up again here, apart from Jasmine. Derek Minner got the unanimous decision, I want to say. Let me just double check. Yeah, against Charles Rosa. There was one weird scorecard here which I wanted to bring up. I think 29-27. Someone gave Rosa a round, whereas I thought it was pretty clear. Derek won all 3 rounds, and there was a couple of 10-8s in there for him. Let me bring up the scorecard, but Drake can't argue with that, can you?
No, the Minner was the rightful winner here, and I think it was 10-8 in the second round, and then the third round arguable for Rosa, which I'm not mad at. I didn't put a score out for this one because I had some people over, some family, and I was not paying super close attention to this fight. But from what I did see, which was most of it, very clear for Minner. And just a problem for Charles Rosa. Seems to be a little bit too comfortable off his back, or maybe his takedown defense isn't, needs some work, because as we've seen in his recent losses, this has been a problem when he's on his back and can't really get up. Obviously he's able to make things interesting and, scramble around a bit, but it's just not enough. It's just not enough, and that was the case in this one as well. Derek Minner did very good controlling the action and, getting the win here. And, that was right, a 10-8 in the second there from Chris Lee, who Chris Lee is Chris Lee. We'll leave it at that. But I don't hate that scorecard personally, but I don't know if that's what I would have went with. I'll have to rewatch. But a good win for Derek Minner over a guy who's been around for a decent bit in Charles Rosa. So, we'll see where he goes from here.
Okay. Yeah, Chris Lee. That,
He's
had some problems.
A lot of officiating controversy tonight.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe we should talk about that as well, because Herb Dean getting some pelters.
He's trending, you guys. He's
trending. Yeah, I don't think you could really fault him, as we said before we went on air, for the Derek Lewis.
No, that wasn't his fault. He was just a little far, and Derek, he did not have to land those final 2 bombs. Curtis was stiff as a board, but at the same time, it is the referee's job to get in there quicker. But I don't blame her for that one. I blame him for some other results.
Well, we'll talk about that when we get to those fights, I guess. Here's a comment from Tam Nguyen. What's up, Tam? Tam, if Blaydes doesn't ask for a raise, I could see the UFC keeping him on the roster.
Right.
Yeah. It's tough. We'll see where Blaydes ends up. But I guess nothing else to add on Charles Rosa and Derek Minner, unless you want to say anything, Drake.
No.
Okay. Again, yeah, we got it all wrong. We've had a nightmare.
See, it was at this fight that we're about to talk about where everything went bad for me. I was killing it up until this one.
Yeah. So I guess this is where we talk about Herb Dean then, because a lot of people thought. Well, first of all, let's say great showing for Chris Daukaus. He is now 3 for 3 stoppages all in the first round, under 2 minutes, double digits in knockout victories in his career. Finished 10 of 11 wins. Another KO this time, stepped up in competition, didn't he, against the real veteran with huge experience here. As you can see there, has got over 70 plus fights. At first round, he was just peppering Olenek. This is the problem for Olenek. If every fight starts on the feet, if he gets it down to the ground, then he's the man there. The boa constrictor, very apt nickname, but yep, Daukaus swarmed all over him. Olenek was just wobbling after the stoppage. Herb had to go and catch him to stop him falling over. But a lot of people feel, Drake, that Herb should have stepped in earlier because he kept asking, show something. But Olenek seemed to be out already. Not a good night for Herb. And
never is these days.
Yeah, some people are pointing out, ever since the Dan Hardy incident, Herb seems to have been affected by that, perhaps, and is maybe going through personal confidence issues. I don't know. We don't know what's going on in Herb's head, but there have been a couple of big things like this now where you question, is he elite level referee anymore?
Yeah, I have plenty to say about that. Let me talk about the fight first before we get to Herb.
And also, again, to note that we all got it wrong.
That we were all wrong, yes. And that's the thing that I'm kicking myself a little bit about with this fight is the fact that, I always like to generally lean towards the experience. But, man, this fight reminded me and us why it doesn't really fucking matter at heavyweight. It doesn't matter at heavyweight, no matter how much you got on your belt. It's just you take some shots, you will go down, especially the older you are. Chris Daukaus, yes, he went in there, looked very good, but I'm not still sold on him. That was obviously the biggest win of his career. Went out there, did the thing, looked great, but it's against an Olenek who, I don't want to say anyone should ever retire, but he's clearly, his best days are behind him now. He's just, that's the best way to put it. His best days are behind him. But again, it is heavyweight, and Daukaus can probably do this to some other people ahead of him. It is one of the divisions that you can have success the older you are, and he's coming up and looking good. But I need to see him against somebody who's not as weathered, I suppose, before we can really tell where he is. And it's very interesting to say that, I guess he could jump up to around that 10 range now. But I don't know. We will see. It was a good win, like I said, but it didn't tell me as much as it could have. If he was defending some shit on the ground and went to the ground and beat Olenek there, that would be very impressive at this stage. But on the feet, we've seen that he's not the same anymore. All right. As for Herb, though, this finish was definitely late, but for me, not Herb's worst. And comparing it to one that happened much earlier in the night, which was absolutely atrocious, no excuses whatsoever. I think I'm comparing it to that, so I don't feel as bad about this one. But it was definitely not good. Herb Dean has not been an elite referee for years now. I know that narrative still gets thrown out there, thanks to Joe Rogan pretty much for saying he's the gold standard, all this. At a time, he was. He used to be in the early 2010s, the 2000s, pretty much. But there was a point around, that midway point of the 2010s, I think you could go back to like 15, 16-ish, where he just started to really let things slip up a little bit, and people didn't really notice it. But here's a good example. Go back to, I nailed that timing, actually, now that I think of this example. Rockhold Weidman 2. Do you remember this fight, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay, so the third round, the end of the third round, when Luke Rockhold was on top of Weidman and ground and pounding him from mount for an entire minute. A full minute. Herb Dean was refereeing that fight. Anybody else with a brain would have stopped that fight. And we saw the fourth round, Weidman was pretty much out on his feet, and it ended pretty quickly after that. Around that time, I think, is when Herb really started to fall, and it has only gotten pretty worse since then, as we can see. Dan Hardy, I'm very glad, pointed it out at that event. Probably did affect Herb a little bit because he got called out on a program for once rather than like we're doing here right now, like I am doing right now. So, yeah, I can't imagine that didn't affect him. We're all human, right? But I don't know. It just really frustrates me a lot with referees when, or judges, when these are people who are so critical to what is happening at that moment, and there seems to be about no accountability held whatsoever, except for very rare cases where Dana goes and bans Steve Mazzagatti and Mario Yamasaki. This is the only time that these kind of instances have happened. And yes, those guys have both had some very bad moments. But if you, I argued this earlier tonight in our private chat. Herb, over a longer period of time, has been more consistently bad than those guys, which I think is probably worse than just some really big moments, but less of them, right? Which is the case with Mario and Steve Mazzagatti, who they're not great whatsoever, no. But Herb is consistently being very bad now at this point for a longer stretch. And I don't know what it's going to take for everybody to really see this. And with judges, too, I've been making this argument lately. Chris Lee, who is very not good at judging fights, it would seem, and not to say I'm the best or anything, as people don't like my scores a lot of the time, but if Dana White has the ability to ban these two referees who are under the Athletic Commission's approval, not the UFC's. Of course, the UFC at the moment, with certain areas like Fight Island, I believe they're picking the regulations for those areas, but under like the Nevada State Athletic Commission, he can ban these referees from refereeing his events, but why can he not ban judges? Which he's been openly critical about. Chris Lee, too, recently. I don't think he said his name, but we all knew who he was talking about. Why can the man not ban him? And why wouldn't you when you see that he's consistently bad as well? Like, this is a topic that I think we need to really talk about more, because it's not getting better. It is clearly not getting better.
Drake's gone in there hard.
It can't help it, man. It fires me up.
Yeah, well, this throwing in my 2 cents. It's not an easy job, is it? And we know that. And I know one of the judges in one championship, and I think he used to do a bit of refereeing for them. And I remember having a drunken conversation with him at about 4 a.m. in Tokyo. And he was saying it's the hardest job, and you've got a split second sometimes to make that decision. But this is different, isn't it, with Herb? These aren't split second decisions. You're not saying, all right, he allowed 1 or 2 shots through. He's allowing 10, 15, 20 shots sometimes, right? Anyway, a bunch of comments here I should talk about. Jason Herzog and Ken Smith are the best referees, says Tan.
I don't know who Ken is, but yeah, Jason Herzog, phenomenal. Good shout, always.
Yeah, definitely. Ever since the Robbie Lawler stoppage versus Asker and Herb has not been the same, says Sammy. So a little bit more recent. Sammy thinks the new Drake of Herb's downfall. Again, could you blame him for that one? It looked like Robbie's arm went down.
That one's very weird. That one is very weird. I wasn't too mad at that one in comparison to some of these that we've mentioned, but that one is just so weird because, yes, Robbie wasn't out. Yeah, as you saw right after he got mad at Herb, but looking at that one, I give him a break because it really did look like he looked out. The way he let himself just kind of loosen up or whatever. It fooled me at the time, and you watch it back, I would have called that if I was a referee. I'm not, of course, but I don't think that one is if there's anything more questionable in that fight than that finish, it was actually when Askren was getting ground and pounded. He went out for a second, man. I swear. You rewatch that, he was out for a split second there, and obviously it didn't end up being worth a stoppage, but that was an interesting moment to assess too as a referee, I'm sure, for him. Interesting example though, Sammy, and definitely a very good case to argue either way. I can understand because Robbie clearly wasn't out.
Yep. Here's Tristan saying, I think Mark Smith is a very good referee. Some people were saying the Landwehr-Erosa stoppage was early, but I think it was okay since Landwehr was wobbly after standing back up. Yeah. I guess we'll get into that in a bit.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what was the other fight that everyone's mad about at Herb? Should we talk about that now?
Yeah, sure. Let's just talk about the first fight because I mean, pretty much there's not much to break down. Sergey Spivak absolutely dominated Jared Vandera. Ground and pound assault. It was pretty brutal. It sucks to see because I have actually known Vandera for a good while now, going back to my Sherdog days, a couple 5 years ago at least. So did an interview with him back in the day when he was really rising up. But yeah, this was not good for him. Sergey got him down in the first round, and then the second round just pounded him out in both of those. This stoppage, though, was absolutely, sickening. If anything, if this doesn't frustrate you, then you're a madman. This was way worse to me than the Olynyk one. Vandera was not intelligently defending himself.
Well,
He
just
was it.
mauling him with hammer fists, wasn't he? Against the
It was it was really bad. It was really bad. For just not minutes, but he was taking a lot of damage that like was unanswered for far too long. I don't know what Tognoni wanted to see there, but that guy's been not great either recently. So that was a terrible way to start off the night because it was
yeah.
just like, oh great, is this how it's going to be? And then
Well, Waleed in the comments say Jared
Right,
Vandera didn't
yeah.
get paid enough to take that kind of beating, especially with that kind of stoppage. Yeah, that was a bad one. The polar bear gets it done. You got it right. You picked right. I didn't. You had a good start there.
Yeah.
I got it wrong. Yeah. Okay. Anything else to add to that one, or we'll go back up?
Just again, it just goes back to the accountability, man. Like
Mm.
I don't know how you see stoppages like this, and especially when it's with the same people who have these kind of results coming up frequently. And there was even another one that Tugnoni refereed tonight. I think it might have been the third fight, which I don't remember the order here. We'll get to that, but that one was a little bit iffy too, if I'm remembering. We will get to that, as I said, but
Mm.
just look at a fight like this and be like, dude, how did you not stop that like 30 seconds earlier? The guy's not moving. He's bleeding all over the place, just taking such unnecessary punishment. That your whole entire job is to protect these fighters because they are too tough for their own good, as we've seen on many occasions. So it just goes back to that.
Yeah,
But
we'll
a
get to it.
very
As you
good win
said.
for Spivak, obviously.
Very good win. These records again are not updated, but they will be next week. Anyway, there's so much to talk about, so I guess we got to keep going. A couple of big talking points I want to get to, but yeah, we're going back down the card. So Phil Hawes, Megatron got the decision against Imavov. So let me get to my notes here. Yeah, Hawes was comfortable for 2 rounds, right?
Yep.
Using the clinch well, ground control. Then suddenly Imavov caught him with a couple of big elbows and shots in the third round, wobbled him a few times, had him in real trouble. And if the round had gone another minute, might have finished him. I mean, one judge gave it 10-8 that third round to Imavov and had it a 20-28 draw. So it was 29-28 on the other 2 cards. So Hawes got it. And we all got it right for once in our picks. Yeah. Phil Hawes, after a couple of early knockouts, that was a bit different for him, wasn't it?
Yeah, man, it was different. Yeah, different from what we'd been seeing recently, but ended up still getting the job done. But a scare. I believe this was his first decision win. I think is what we were seeing, or his first time winning past like the second round or something. There was some kind of stat like that was pulled up over the Twitterverse. But this was pretty nuts, man. That third round I thought was crazy, and one of those rare instances where you can just feel the potential for, oh my God, this fight could end literally any second. He is in danger for every second that this is ticking off the clock. Like in that last minute, I was on the edge of my seat like, oh my God, Imavov just needs one of these. Just keep landing. It's going to work, man. It had that feel to it. And Haas was hanging on for dear life, was able to do it. Impressive, but not impressive at the same time because he was just kind of spent, I guess. It was very odd how his defense evaporated as this fight went on, and particularly in that third round. Very deflating for Imavov, who was really trying to pour it on and seal that victory. But, it was too little too late, obviously, and good job for Haas to hang on there. And impose his will in the first 2 rounds on the ground. And Imavov will definitely be back. I think that wasn't the worst way to finish a fight if you're gonna lose. But yeah, both of these guys there's clear work that needs to be done in certain areas. So yeah, that wasn't the best fight in the first 2 rounds. I didn't find it too entertaining, but that third round had me biting my nails, man. That was I like a moment like that. It was very unique.
Yeah, there's the scorecard. So you can see 10-8 from Camijo to Imavov in the third round.
Generally a very good referee. I mean, a judge. I think Camijo is one of the more unheralded ones. We never give credit to these judges when they do good, you guys. We got to do more of that. More positivity. I know we just went pretty hard on the refs. I did anyway. But let's give some credit to judges when they get the scores right.
I haven't got a problem with that. In a way. Some more comments here. I'll get to Sammy going back to that referee debate, saying Keith Peterson is pretty bad too. He let Joanna headbutt Whaley in the third round and also grabbed Whaley's bra strap to land an elbow at the end of the fourth. Obviously, Keith Peterson is the one, Drake, that Dominic Cruz accused of drinking and smelling like alcohol when they went out to the fight. What do you think of Keith Peterson?
Well, that's a very interesting example. First of all, Sammy, I do remember the head clash. I don't remember a headbutt because there's a difference there. Headbutts are intentional. I do remember a brief head clash. The bra strap to the elbow, something I never really realized. Maybe I'll have to go and look back at this. And I didn't even remember Keith Peterson being the referee in that one. But I think that Keith he's pretty average, an average ref. He's not the worst by any means, but he's not the best. He's pretty he's had some slip ups, and we always point out it's easier to point out the bad than the good, as we've been talking about. But no, I think he's pretty middle for me. Of course, at the time that Dominic Cruz one was interesting, and he was getting up right as it ended. That one is very wishy-washy, but he did get hit clean. And, I always have to go to bat for my boy. I am a shameless Dominic Cruz simp. I will say a simp for a man. Can we do that? A stan for Dominic Cruz. So that one is a touchy subject for me. But no, Keith, he's pretty middle ground, I would say. Not the best, not the worst.
Okay. Another comment here. Going back to to Habdeen from Adam, saying apparently Curtis's team were angry that Lewis hit after the stoppage. Lewis said in the post-fight press conference that he hits until the ref stops it because he doesn't know if he's going to Undertaker up. Yep, the famous sit-up. Tyson Fury did that, didn't he?
Right.
Yeah, there's no way Curtis was getting up. He went stiff, didn't he? Askren style. Yeah. I think but I'm not blaming Lewis. I think in the heat of the moment, sometimes your natural reaction is just to keep hitting.
No,
laser focused.
Yeah, all the comments here are totally justified. If you're Curtis's team, I'd be pissed, for continuing to pound on my unconscious fighter. Yeah, I'd be very upset if I was in that position. And then Lewis being in his position, you fight till the referee stops you, whether it's the right moral thing to do, or it doesn't look great, to continue beating a guy who's clearly out, but at the same time you do it till the ref stops you. And then his joke is very funny as well. So I am fine with all the points that have been pointed out by Adam.
Yep. Alan Bones Jones, what's up, Alan? Saying Phil Hawes against Buckley would be interesting. Adam saying Hawes' chin is suspect, but nice to see him get past that adversity. Yeah, a few more comments we go to here. Arthur Antonio, no one's saying, I don't care how well-rounded you are at heavyweight, you only need power. Look at the two top contenders at heavyweight, Ngannou and Derek Lewis.
Yeah, and that's one of the bigger reasons, I suppose, kind of why I have never been sold on John Jones doing good at heavyweight. The guy he's not even been a power puncher at light heavyweight. And of course, if he packs on all this muscle like he's planning to do, just fight naturally, no weight cutting, I'm sure he will definitely pack more power to his punches at heavyweight. But again, man, it only takes one for these guys who have been fighting at this weight their entire lives, essentially. We won't get into the entire debate about how John Jones would do, but that's one of the reasons why, that's a great point. I think Arthur at heavyweight is just so ridiculous. Just flat out, it's a ridiculous division.
Yeah. Alan Bones Jones saying Mark Goddard is by far my favorite ref. Not many bad calls, in my opinion, besides the Aldo versus Jan stoppage.
That one was very bad. That
Yeah.
one was not good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Mark Goddard for he was my GOAT for a good while, but you know he has had some bad occasions in the recent years. But somebody, if we're gonna say who the GOAT referee is, I like Mike Beltran. Can't really think of any bad ones with him. Big John, as much as people don't like to say he's the GOAT, come on, the guy helped make the rules and everything. He was very consistent and enforced them more often than not. But what were you gonna say there, Nick? Sorry for cutting you off.
no, I don't think I was going to say anything interesting. But just
Oh,
more
come on
comments.
now.
Arthur says Curtis Blaydes is so used to getting takedowns so easily he doesn't set them up. WTF, Blaydes. Adam going in here hard, saying the funny part is that Blaydes walked out to Mortal Kombat only to get a critical fatality. Yeah, what do
Shout
you
out to
think of
John
that?
for that tweet on the screen we got.
Yeah, John was all over the screen today.
He's
He was
milking
even
it.
in the Phil Hawes video package. They
Was
brought him
he?
up on there. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I had people texting me saying, "Oh, John's everywhere." That's John. That's our John. He's always tweeting, and he's always tweeting sense.
They grow up
You know.
so fast.
Yeah, he's going to be too big for us soon. Okay, let me bring up these fanatics things again as we move back down the card. So what's next? All right, 1 second, just sorting it all out. Glad to see my computer's faring a bit better today.
Yeah.
We were briefly scared, weren't we, Drake, before we went live? You know, I was freezing again.
Just needed to warm itself up.
Yep. Okay, the heavyweights we were talking about earlier again. Andrei Arlovsky, Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall got the submission, the choke, pretty early in the second round. After it was, let me get my notes out here. Yeah, a big takedown against the fence, then choked him out. He showed good hands in the first round, didn't he? He was teeing off on Arlovsky, who somehow survived the assault. Top 15 next, I put question mark in my notes. So take it away. We all got this one right as well, I'd like to say. Another decent pick for us.
This was brilliant. I absolutely adored this performance from Tom Aspinall. And you know, if we're gonna make that comparison, as I was doing prior to in our preview, you know, with these two heavyweight fights, the Oleinik one and the Daukaus one, to this Arlovsky versus Aspinall, Oleinik a bit more weathered, despite his higher ranking than Arlovsky, who's not ranked at the moment, right? So to go out there by Tom Aspinall and just he fought very smart, very patient. Like when he hurt Arlovsky on the feet and got him backed up against the cage and was teeing off, was going to the body. Like some people get just so overzealous and keep going to the head, and then it gives opportunities to get countered. You know, Arlovsky, as we saw in that Travis Brown Classic, you know, as John brought up in the preview, like he's always dangerous in that position. And Arlovsky, he didn't look too bad. I didn't think he came out pretty sharp as well, but that just goes to show how ready Tom Aspinall was for this position, and he looked great, man. Was very sharp on the feet, was very quick, didn't really look like a heavyweight. And then that second round where he, you know, hid that takedown, gets the leg kick, and then just goes for it, gets him against the cage, and then very quickly latches on the rear naked choke. And Arlovsky tapped quick, man. So that was just beautiful stuff from Tom Aspinall. I am very excited to see what is next for this guy if he continues to look like that.
Yeah, Adam saying Aspinall versus Oleinik is interesting.
I don't know about that. That would probably not be very good for Oleinik.
Yeah, okay. Arthur is saying, I feel like the UFC only likes to invest in one prospect at the same time. They are going to do Daukaus versus Aspinall.
Well,
maybe?
The thing about that is, as you mentioned, Nick, if Daukaus jumps up, maybe not to 10, but I imagine he'll go into that 13 range at least now. You know, if we're going to go by the rankings, let's just look for example, what was it, last week with Barber and Grasso. Grasso was 15, Barber was 10. They completely flip-flopped now. Will that happen in this case? I mean, maybe it should, considering the performance, depending how you want to do your rankings and all that. But if they do that, then it seems kind of weird because Aspinall, if he gets in, he'll probably be around 15. And then if Daukaus makes that big of a jump, you know, logically, that doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense to me, going by those potential rankings we'll get. And then, of course, the idea of multiple prospects, which they should want those at heavyweight. We'll see. We will see. You were right. It doesn't seem like they care too much sometimes, but with these two guys who just beat much more experienced opponents than they are, they should keep them apart from each other for a little bit. They will fight one day if they keep doing these kind of performances.
Alan saying Daukaus versus Walt Harris or Junior Dos Santos next. Do you like that?
Well, Junior might not even be in the UFC for
Yeah.
much longer, unfortunately, and he, kind of like Olenek, probably shouldn't be. That's what I'll say. That's what I will say. I didn't want to say that Olenek should retire, which is pretty much what I was hinting at. I'm not going to say that, but at the very least, probably isn't UFC caliber anymore. And unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, probably the same with Junior. So maybe retirement should be thought about, but I will say that maybe they shouldn't be in the UFC anymore. Walt Harris, that one, yeah, I could see that. That works.
I think with Olenek, the reason he's still fighting, I think I read this somewhere, is he needs the money for his gym, which shut down during the pandemic, and this is why he keeps fighting so much. And that's sad if it's true. I hope I haven't got that wrong, but yeah,
well, he was a chef too. I don't know if he still is doing that, but there was that period a couple of years back where he didn't fight for like a year and a half or so, and it's because he was really busy with his chef duties or whatever. Like, he's got some things to do outside of MMA, but seems like if that is true, I could imagine the pandemic has not been good for that aspect of things, and then along with his cooking side of work or whatever, that's probably not doing too well either, unfortunately.
Not as well as Cooking with Volk is doing, I'm sure, on YouTube. What about this? Olenek versus JDS, maybe for each other's respective retirement fight. Alan, do you like those kind of fights where it's, the final one?
They're a little sad. They can be a little sad, but okay, I guess no, I don't, because my mind just went to Tito and Chuck, which wasn't a double retirement fight, but that's probably the worst example that I could have brought up, because that was one of the most depressing sports moments I've probably ever seen in my entire life. That was very bad for one that I wasn't attached to, like a Packers loss, which there's been some of those. But yeah, I guess that fight would make sense and be fine, but it'd be sad in either direction probably. So there's
okay,
that.
I'll do some more comments quickly before we get to the next fight. Adam saying that JDS is a legend, but he really needs to stop. And Sammy asking you, where can I send a gift to Jacob? Joanna grabbing Whaley's bra strap right before she elbowed her. Hit us up in a DM.
Yeah, Twitter.
Maybe. We might get
_.
Yeah, we may get what's the word? Copyright claim if we show UFC footage on here. So
True.
Probably I've had a couple of those recently, so I don't want to get another one.
No.
Okay, let's go back to the fights. Oh, wrong thing. Here you go. Yeah, let's go down. Jared Gordon against Danny Chavez. Jared Gordon decision. We both got this right, Drake, for once again. Not a bad stretch for us. This was it. I didn't have too much to say on this fight. 30-27 on two cards, 29-28 on the other. Just good technical display from Jared, wasn't it?
Yep, just a tough, gritty, vintage Gordon performance, I would say. This was just what he needed, just what the doctor ordered. Danny Chavez came on kind of pretty good late in that third round, but again, wasn't enough, similar to Imavov, but not to the same amount of success. Was working that leg kick every so often when the fight was on the feet, but ultimately this was Jared Gordon's fight, and yeah, he looked very solid. So there isn't a lot to say about it. It was just a good showing from him, and Chavez had some moments, but of course needs to work on that takedown defense.
Yeah, Alan asking Jared Gordon versus Rafael Fiziev, lightweight. No, don't like that.
Fiziev needs to fight up. He's probably going to be a contender someday, so he should get somebody around that 16-ish range. If he's not going to get a ranked guy, Gordon, needs to keep climbing a bit, I would say.
Tristan points out Jared Gordon's now missed weight in 2 of his 4 UFC featherweight fights.
Right. Yeah.
No, 2 of his 3, he said. He changed his comment. 3 or 4, what is it? Let's figure it out. Anyway. What
Either
about
way, not good.
Yeah, Moicano against Gordon.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that one. That could be good.
Because Fiziev finished Moicano, didn't he? Okay, well, yeah, we don't have too much else to say on this one. So this fight was scrapped.
Bummer.
Drakkar Close against Violent Bob Ross, Luis Pena. I think I've got this correct, saying one of Drakkar's cornermen tested positive for COVID, and it had to be scrapped just hours before the card started. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or was it even closer to fight night? Yeah. It's a bummer for Luis Pena. He try and bring some of his tweets up here.
He was still trying to fight.
Yeah, he was still trying to. He's saying like, find me someone else to fight. Let me get these tweets here. But it sucks to see, doesn't it, Drake?
Yeah, I was really looking forward to this one. This was along with another fight we'll get to here shortly. Kind of one of the sleeper picks, I think, for fight of the night. Could have been a very good one. Luis Pena fights are always generally pretty entertaining. Then Drakkar Close looking to rebound off that Dariush loss, which was a wild one, as we talked about the other day. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see if they rebook it. Very bummed it did not happen. So
here you go. This tweet start here. I hate this, man, but is this on screen? No, I haven't added it yet. Damn it. Okay, there you go. It's up now. So, yes, here you go. As you can see, he tweeted, I hate this, man, but it's with a heavy heart. Must inform you guys, the fight has been called off. One of Drakkar's corner tested positive COVID. And then he says, I'm gutted. You don't understand. Fighting's truly one of the things that brings me joy in life. I've been having to sit on the sidelines for 8 months, going through ups and downs, just waiting for that moment where I get to be home again. I miss the bright lights. I miss y'all. If only that was at 155, I'd be on my way to the apex. Seriously, Dana White, let's check weights, see if we're comparable. If I need to, I will cut to make this happen. I want to fight tonight. I'm sure Chaz does. Let's rebook.
That would have been so badass.
Yeah, so what he's alluding to here, I guess we can talk about that one now.
Well.
Yeah, this is crazy, isn't it?
So, I was fucking bummed about that too. I love Chaz Skelly.
Yeah, so Chaz Skelly this is even crazier. He's already in the octagon. He's made his walk. He's warming up. He's walking around. And then word comes through that Jamal Emmers is not coming out.
Joe Martinez said it on the mic.
Yeah, it's announced in the cage. He's had for medical reasons. And I think it was a back spasm backstage just before he came out. And then Chaz goes over to Bisping, the commentary team. He says, hey, Bisping, do I get my win bonus or what? Talk to somebody. And yeah, a few people were saying on Twitter, give that man his show and win bonus. Sucks for Skelly. Really sucks. Sucked for us. We wanted to see the fight as well, didn't we, Drake?
Yep, that was man, that was a bummer. And for a guy who hasn't fought since 2019, like, dying to get back in there, and you literally make it into the octagon and have your fight canceled. Like, what an insane thing to have happen. Like that roller coaster of emotions. You're all hyped up, get in there, and then, wait, what happened? I'm not. What? We're here, man. We're in the fucking cage. And then afterward, at least he was still a good sport about it. And I don't know if you saw he was doing some karaoke backstage, Nick. I know that was getting around, singing some Tenacious D for everybody.
I heard about this.
You didn't see? Oh, he was pretty good, actually. Good singer. And a great song choice.
So can we show this without getting sued? Or
should be fine. It's Oscar Willis who posted it.
Oscar. Yeah, I've just seen this one. I'll bring up Oscar's thing. Yeah, hopefully he doesn't mind. Oscar Willis.
Don't do us dirty, Oscar.
Yeah.
God damn it. Mac
wait, I've done that wrong. I have to press audio. I always forget this every time. They need to make a feature where it automatically brings the audio. Yeah. Anyway, there it is. Add it in now. I haven't seen this, so I'm new to this. But Drake, you've given it big.
Look at him.
Don't always have to fuck her hard.
Okay, I don't think I can play that. Didn't know what it was, but yeah,
I wanted to surprise you.
Oh, thank you. That'll definitely get us some kind of strike from YouTube. Oh dear. We are a PG company, Drake. South China Morning Post is a family operation.
Right. Yes.
So
Apologies.
Tenacious D, yeah, great.
It's Skelly's fault, not mine.
Yeah. I'll watch that later, but at least he's in good spirits. So good for him, but bad for me
Right.
sharing that down there. Anyway, anything else to add, or do you want to go back up? There was another fight, was there, that got scrapped, but that was before we knew about this already. I think Alves missing his
Oh yeah.
weight by 11.5 pounds or
Jeez.
something. Missed not only the featherweight limit, he missed the lightweight.
Not
But
good.
yeah, everyone knows about that. We've already discussed it. I don't think we did, but enough people have. Anyway, why don't we just get to the next fight, which was John Castaneda got his first UFC win against Eddie Wineland, the veteran. This was impressive, wasn't it? I mean, Wineland, absolute veteran legend, but time to have that conversation with him as well, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it would unfortunately seem that way, you know. Wineland, he's one of those guys, right, where he always pretty much he comes in looking on point, looking sharp. He moves very awkwardly. He's one of the more unique movement oriented guys. He's got like that old 18th century or 1800s brawler, bare knuckle stance kind of movement that he does. He throws his hands around a lot like that, and he was doing pretty all right in this fight, and then all of a sudden Castaneda kind of figured out the angles he was hitting and just blitzed on him and just put him away. Caught him with one to start off the combo. He noticed it and then just berserkered his way in and put away Wineland, which is a massive, victory for him to be able to do that. No matter, what point you're at, what stage you're at as Eddie Wineland. And but yeah, it just seems like for him, his chin is not the same as it once was. I think that he can definitely still beat some people at bantamweight, but again, what are the odds of it happening? Because his chin is, if people just attack him the way that Castaneda did, they can probably put him away. So a bummer to see. We always hate to see a guy like that who's been around for so long and, former champion in the WEC, as we mentioned, to go out that way. But just a changing of the guard a little bit. Castaneda showing that, hey man, he's here. He's here and he's not playing around. So, yeah, very good win for him, no doubt. A highlight reel for the sexy Mexi.
Gotta say, anyone with that nickname I can get behind. I like it. You and I both got it wrong. We went for anyone.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't a great pick by us. Here's some comments here. I'll get to Sammy saying Wineland was actually doing well.
Yep.
Then he got caught. Yeah, 16 seconds left in the first round, I think it was. And when it was finished, Alan Bones Jones saying Eddie Wineland against Anand Barao.
Barrao's
Barao was
gone.
Barao was still in the UFC.
Interesting rematch, though. They did fight before, if you remember. That was Wineland's UFC title shot for the interim title. UFC 2. Everybody forgets that was the fight. That was the co-main event to Jones and Gustafsson. Everybody forgets for the first fight, UFC 165. One of the more underappreciated knockouts probably ever by Renan Barao. A little bit of a phantom spinning wheel kick, or it was spinning body kick, but it landed up top. So, kind of crazy in hindsight to see the placement of that and everything. But I guess it'd be an interesting rematch if they did it wherever Barao is fighting now. I don't remember. What is it, Future FC maybe that he's in? I don't know. So
still crazy to think about Barao, what happened from where he was. It's crazy. But we got a few more fights. There were so many fights, even with all the cancellations. A quick question here. Sammy saying, does the UFC let Wineland go after this? What do you think?
What can you scroll up again? Would that be how many in a row? Just two losses in a row, right? Or just two.
But 4 in the last.
1 of 4.
Wait, this is the most recent, I think. No, going.
No, because he lost to O'Malley.
Yeah, on the app, it's they flipped it. Sorry, going the other way. O'Malley lost. So 4 losses in 5.
Well, those 3 losses to those guys, no shame in those. But then Castaneda, a guy who is a prospect coming up, and his second UFC fight. So to lose in this fashion, despite looking solid, as one of the commenters said here, yeah, probably. maybe a similar case at the very least to where if he becomes a free agent, depending what his contract status is, probably won't get re-signed. And if he does, they would want to, kind of cut the cost on whatever it is. And I doubt that he'd be at the stage where he would do that. And, who knows how much longer he even wants to keep fighting for. The guy's been around for so long. And I know he has some ventures outside of the UFC now as well. I think a mustache grooming company or something about mustaches, which is very cool. And I can respect that. So I don't know. We will see what's next for him. But wishing him all the best, no matter what it is. But I wouldn't be surprised if he gets cut. But let's just say I can't imagine he'll be in the UFC for too much longer, especially if the fortunes don't turn around soon.
All right, you called this one. Juicy J beating Nate Landwehr.
Told you.
Yeah, God, I got this wrong. So did Chris. It was 57 seconds. First round. It was. I'll get me my notes out here. Just pouring it on in the first minute, wasn't he, against Landwehr? And then TKO within a minute. Flying knee against the fence. I think did that connect? I couldn't really see because of the angle, but Landwehr was already looking like he was out before that, wasn't he? On the other side of the cage, I think it was. But you called it, Drake. Good shout. Juicy J, your boy from Washington.
Yeah, hometowner, home stater, I should say. I'm not from Seattle, but same state. Yeah, he's a man reborn, dude. That's this recent stretch he's on. He's looking super sharp, and just the aggressiveness from Landwehr kind of played into Erosa's game, because generally he's not really that wild, but it worked out in this matchup for him as the fight ended very quickly, and that flush knee that landed in. The controversy was this one, I believe, with Tugnoni was the referee in this one, I think, as well, which is the other fight that I was talking about earlier. But I thought that the stoppage was fine. Landwehr was he went out, he went, limp, and then got up and was kind of complaining about it, but staggered a bit on his way up. So I thought the stoppage was fine, and he was very likely saved from just more damage. So no problems with that one. And Erosa, man, a very fun guy to watch, no matter win or lose, but he's rolling right now. And as people have mentioned, Landwehr and knees do not get along. But he's always a fun guy, win or lose as well. We'll be interested to see what is next for him. But Erosa, man, he's rolling right now. So we'll see what's next for him too. I like it.
Ghost Phantom agrees with you. That was actually a good stop.
I am bummed though that we didn't get more of this fight, because this was my pick for sleeper fight of the night, and it was over so quickly. A fun minute of action, but I want a little bit more.
I'm just relieved in a way. A lot of these early fights ended so quickly because there were so many fights, even with the 3 dropouts. We could have been here till about 2 p.m. in Hong Kong. It was all over by I think 12 midday for me. So we did start at 5:30, so I was already flagging. These cards are long. I figured we had a couple more hours. I was thinking it'll be afternoon time by the time it actually ends. But anyway, we got a few more still. Casey O'Neill. Love this one because she's one of the Tiger Muay Thai graduates, so to speak, and who are friends of the show. And happy for her. Got debut when there is a new name in flyweight. It's a very impressive victory. Still undefeated. I think would have been a 10-8 round if it had gone that far.
Yeah.
Ground and pound TKO with about a minute and a half left in the second. Welcome to the UFC. Shayna Dobson. She had that upset win, didn't she? Last time out against Maria Agapova, but O'Neill was very impressive.
Yep, this was how this fight was pretty much supposed to go, assuming that Casey wouldn't gas out, which there was no reason to believe that she would have, because this fight is how all of her fights have gone so far. This is what she does best. She did that in a matchup where she could very well do this, and she did do it. Shayna Dobson, and then even on the feet, she didn't look as too bad. She was hanging in there, landed some good shots, ate a couple as well, because Dobson's strength is on her feet, even though it's not the strongest of strengths. And despite getting that big upset, as I mentioned, when we were breaking things down, it's not like she was dominating Agapova. Agapova was doing just fine early on and was, kind of doing her thing so much that it drained her, and then Dobson took advantage and beat her up to get that upset just by, having a better gas tank and hanging in there, being tough and durable. But yeah, this could be also, if somebody's going to get cut off of this card, it could be Shanna Dobson, because now the record goes back to below 500, right? But is what it is. Casey O'Neill, welcome to the UFC indeed. Looked very strong. There's still a lot of questions to be answered about her, but a fantastic debut to have, especially after Dobson got some more recognition for that upset. But yeah, we'll see what is next for her.
Sammy here saying the striking on this did not look good, but either Dobson actually landed some shots on O'Neill. Yeah, Drake, you alluded to that. Just, yeah, not more she could have done. I think O'Neill, I'm interested to see where she goes next. But why don't we get to the next fight? Ayman Zahabi shoving it in my face here. You picked him. I went for Jocko Rodriguez. So did Chris. So did Jasmine. This was a pretty spectacular knockout, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very nice. And wow, I'm just now seeing Rodriguez's nickname, the Great Dracolini. That is that was pretty hilarious. So I was in the shower for this one. I missed this one, but I saw the knockout. So I don't know how it was looking up until that point, Nick, so you can tell us there. But yeah, fantastic timing from Ayman Zahabi to get the finish there. Beautiful stuff, and got himself extra 50 Gs. So great job for the bro of Firas Zahabi, TriStar, representing very proudly, and got himself back in the win column. Needed this one, so good stuff.
A lot of people were saying this is Ariel Helwani's doppelganger as well.
Seen that.
Yeah, bit of banter there. I can see it. Yeah, impressive. I don't know what else we can say. Do you want to move on? There's so many fights here.
Yeah.
He must have got a performance bonus. Right?
He did. Yep.
Okay. I don't think we mentioned that before. Someone put it at the top of the group. So Let me just mention that. Performance of the night bonuses. Was this you or John who had it?
No, I didn't do it.
John was doing it from afar, and it definitely wasn't me, unless it's some kind of robot for SCMP MMA. Performance of the night bonuses went to Derek Lewis, Chris Daukaus, Tom Aspinall, and Ayman Zahabi. 50K to each. Who was your performance of the night? Let us know if you think anyone else deserves one in the chat. Otherwise, yeah, let's go to. I think we've covered it all. We already did Spivak and Vendera, so that's all the fights. Okay, I'll get rid of this. And yeah, just overall, I thought great show. UFC usually delivers. Had some awesome cards so far this year. I think you can add this one to the list, Drake.
Yeah, no, definitely. All those finishes early on, everybody was like, oh, no decisions yet. And then whenever they say that, they jinx it, and that's what happened. But either way, still very fun night of action overall. And that Derek Lewis knockout is a early contender for knockout of the year. Will it last? It's hard to do so with knockouts, but definitely up there at the moment. Yeah, what would you give for a grade? What would you give this one, Nick? I'm thinking pretty solid. I'd say a B plus. I'd say maybe an A minus. It was very good for I wasn't super duper excited for it, but it was good.
Yeah, B plus. I mean, I'm in England. We don't really do the A B C. I think it's more of the because we're so posh. We do numbers.
Okay, 1 out of 10.
Yeah, our university system is like first is the best, then the second, or then like a 2-2 or a 2-1. Yeah, it goes first and then 2-1, then 2-2, which is kind of confusing. But I thought it was solid 7 out of 10, something like that. Maybe an 8 creeping up there with all the finishes. A lot of excitement. I think had those other fights been on it, it might have dragged the whole card down a bit with the length of the card. So maybe it was helped by a few of those cancellations, because otherwise it could have been an epic slog.
Yeah, that is interesting to think about. That we did have more on tap. It was supposed to be longer.
Sometimes I think you got to keep it to I like a 10 fight, 12 fight maximum card. I think these one championship show is a little too short for me right now. The 6 fights,
Mm-hmm.
always 10 around that magic number. Sometimes you don't want it to drag too much. But,
Right.
anyway, anyone else get your questions in and your comments? One other thing I wanted to talk about as well. Ottman Zaitar
Oh
is
boy.
back. He's been given a second chance by Dana White. This obviously was the thing with the bag in Fight Island. He was cut from the UFC when a mysterious man got into the bubble after they gave him their bracelets. He climbed across the balconies on the hotel, dropped off a bag. Hashtag what's in the bag? No one knows. Some people were saying on Twitter, I saw, make your own assertion from this, whatever. But him and his brother have been tested more than anyone by USADA this year in the UFC, or the last certain amount of months. So some people were speculating, was there some kind of thing linked to that in the bag? Who knows? But it must not be, because Dana's given him another chance. Here is Brett Okamoto had the story. The UFC has elected not to release Ottman Zaitar from its roster following last month's odd circumstances at Fight Island, in which Dana White said Zaitar broke COVID-19 protocol. No further details at this time, as Zaitar has not commented publicly. So not much else to add to it. Do you think right call here, Drake?
So there's obviously more details to this, but this kind of bothers me a little bit for a couple reasons. And the main one is, let's assume, and I don't know why this would be different, but everything that we do know at the moment, the fact of him letting somebody else in with the bracelets or whatever, take that alone. Whatever more details come out, I would assume that he still did that no matter what, which is putting everybody at risk in the bubble of Fight Island, right? So that's kind of not cool. I think should be not cool no matter what. No matter what's in the bag or whatever, he still put everybody at risk. But then it makes you wonder, we have to go this route too. Would he be getting this second chance if he had a different manager? If he was managed by somebody not named, who didn't run a certain management
Ali
company.
Abdelaziz.
Yes, Mr. Abdelaziz. So I don't know. This just kind of feels a little bit slimy, a little bit weird to me with what we do know for sure. I don't know what other details would come out that would make it okay. Because again, the main thing is like the guy he did it sneakily too, no matter what, obviously. He let somebody into the bubble without letting people know and putting everybody else at risk, which we see how many fights already fall through on in Vegas, as many have for this one, and they always do, but I don't know. It doesn't really sit too well with me with all these little factors considered. But I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong and there will be a very good explanation for it, but at the moment feels weird. It feels a little strange.
Ali commented on it on Twitter. He said, "We're very grateful for the opportunity. Thank you, Dana White. Very grateful to Dana White and humbled by this decision. There are others I want to thank. They know who they are and we appreciate them very much. This was done way above my pay grade." He's saying, "Believe me, I didn't have much to do with it all, Dana and others." So pleading innocence there. Who knows what happened? But either way, the bottom line is Ottman Zaitar is still or back in the UFC. And, he's a good prospect, isn't he, Drake?
Yeah.
So just hope he doesn't make any more stupid decisions like that. He got away with one here, definitely. So just keep doing what you're doing in the octagon, Ottman. Anyway, another talking point that I wanted to do, Sammy has mentioned it here in the comments, saying, does Angela call for a title shot if she beats Yoda? So they announced this fight. They dropped that one on the broadcast. That's going to be on next. When is it? Is it 260?
Yeah, that's next week, I think.
Next week. Okay, so they both agreed to it this morning. Angela Hill, we know she takes short notice fights. She keeps doing it, and she's been on a roll last year, but then I think she lost a couple now. But yeah, you excited for this one, Drake?
Not really, honestly. I
Yeah.
don't like this matchmaking. And I understand that it's short notice and everything, so I will give it a pass. But when I first saw this, I was like, oh, that's kind of odd because Angela Hill is, believe she's still ranked at the moment. Ashley Yoder, not so much, and just stylistically, it's one that I don't see being. It's not the best for either. It'll be very interesting in an exciting way. I think there are better matchups for both of them to put on a show. And yeah, when I read that comment at first, I thought it said, "Will Angela get a Will she get a title shot if she wins?" And I was like, "No, are you insane? What are you talking about? Will she call for it? Yeah, sure. Why wouldn't she? Would be smart, especially with all the nonsense going on. Will she get it though? No, no way. But yeah, I expect Angela to win to give a little early pick there, a little sneak peek at what I'm thinking. But I don't know. It's an odd one. Not a big fan.
Yeah. Let me show you this. I knew something was going on because she tweeted this out this morning. Angela woke up to some news. Yeah, I figured it was something like this, but anyway, we love Angela.
Look at that exchange in the comments. I hope it's not a fight announcement.
I've just seen that. Very good. Classic. Okay. Let me click these buttons. Anything else? Here we go. Some comments on this. Tristan saying Angela Hill complains way too much publicly about her recent split decision losses. I think a couple of them I agreed with her. Who was it? Kadeya, that one?
Yeah.
I agreed with her on that. I don't know. Angela's I kind of think of her as the female cowboy. Is that a good analogy? She'll take any fight anytime. She'll win a bunch of them. She'll lose some of them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's solid. I don't see too much of this complaining for me to say she complains way too much, but I know that she does believe that she should be on like a 8-fight winning streak or whatever. But funny enough, I think all the results have been good. They've been gone in the right direction, but they were very, very close. I understand the cases for Angela winning against Hill or Angela winning against Watterson or Gadelia, of course. So yeah, I get it, and it is what it is. It doesn't bother me too much. It doesn't bother me enough to the point where she's doing it so much that I'm like, just shut up. But
Yeah.
it's always an interesting thing when if they bring it up a lot, then I get why people would be annoyed by that. So
yeah, let us know in the comments what you think. Alan Bone Jones asking, what about Angela v. Marina Rodriguez? You interviewed Marina recently, and she said she wants Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So I think she's earned the right to call her shot.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, check out the Marina Rodriguez chat here on the channel, you guys, if you have not yet. Very fun stuff with her. No, that's not the fight to make. That's a fun matchup. I think as a fight, that would be a very exciting one. And generally, which fights between either of these ladies aren't fun and exciting. But yeah, no, Marina definitely deserves somebody, above her at this point. So we won't be seeing that one anytime soon unless Marina falls far or Angela makes the climb, which I think Angela climbing up would be more realistic at this point, but not easy. Strawweight is a very tough division, you guys, but yeah, you can't go wrong with a lot of these matchups, Alan Bones Jones.
Yeah, let us know in the comments any other questions you have, anything like that you want us to talk about. We got about 10, 15 minutes. We're still going to go here. Alan says, I would love that fight, but I don't think JJ will be back anytime soon. So I think he means Marina versus JJ. Yeah. Maybe Carla Esparza versus Marina. Yeah, some good ideas here.
They just fought, though. So
yeah, not too long ago. I did forget to go back, Drake, to the leaderboard.
All right.
So see, this is the Blaydes versus Lewis leaderboard. Yep. Do another
James
plug.
Craig cheated.
Yeah, so this is one of the things I don't like about the app, and I have expressed this to these guys. Obviously, Fanatics are based in Hong Kong as well, like the South China Morning Post. Their office is based not too far from my apartment, and usually sometimes I go over to their office for these fight nights. But James was not doing one today, but anyway, yes, one of the problems is if you only pick 3 fights and you get them all right, you're top of the leaderboard for that event. I feel there needs to be some kind of punishment where you're docked 50 points for each fight you don't pick, something like that. I have discussed it with them. They do agree. They are working on the system. James himself, he was second. He should have won this. So what better incentive, James, than the fact you would have won today? So you need to overhaul this system, sir. Get on there. You were robbed of your own glory by James Craig. The other James stole your thunder.
It's like
James.
It's like fake JHK, fake James.
Yeah. Anyway, as we pointed out at the top of the show, Drake and I did not do very well. But Eddie the Blasian, one of the regulars on this channel, well done, sir. 6th place, very good showing. Ranimal, who is one of the crew over in Fanatics or associated with them, I have met him, very nice guy. He did well as well. And then we got Maine 2009, one of the regulars as well. Shout out to you. He usually does very well. He's done well again tonight. I think he pinned his hopes on Lewis getting a knockout in the main event, and he got it. That took him up about 700 points, I think. So he actually tweeted us to the account at SCMP MMA saying he was doing that, and I almost put that GIF of it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works, whatever. But then I thought, oh no, Lewis will just go and knock him out and I'll look stupid. And he did, but I didn't. So I saved some face a little bit there. Yeah, and then who else have we got here? Mikey C. Mikey Do is Mikey from Fanatics. He's done all right there. 5 wins, 7 losses, but I think he got Lewis in
triple or nothing. Yeah.
You got to go a long way down to get Drake there at 20.
Yep.
7 right, 5 wrong, but yeah, bad stretch at the end of the main card there. You were rolling pretty much.
I know.
Yeah, that's it. It's a brutal game. Fanatics Fantasy MMA. It is. You've got to go much further to get me. One Championship UK, tied 24th, another regular on the channel, but only picked 1 fight. So again, I don't like this. A couple of people had that there. They've got to have some kind of punishment.
I think that they should be like put in a mini group where they only can rank with the people who have also picked that same number of fights, you know, something like that.
Agreed like that. Migs De La Cruz, one of our regulars, half and half there, 6-6. Jasmine, the queen of the simps, queen of the picks. She's not had a good night, 6-6 as well. And Darcy Sepulot, 5-7. I think I had this. No, I was even worse. Tom Taylor.
Oh, Tom's in there now.
I didn't realize Tom had signed up. There you go. Tom Taylor, SCMP MMA contributor as well. Hopefully we'll get him on one of these shows again. He's actually just interviewed Kevin Lee for us, so looking forward to seeing that. Kevin said some cool stuff. Can't wait to get that video out to you guys next week, I think. Tomorrow, maybe. I am so far down this table. There I am, 48.
Right below Boris.
Yeah.
Boris.
Shocker.
Avatar.
Boris Johnson beat me. And he got 5 in a row wrong at the end. So there's a lot. Yeah. Diraj, another friend of the show, a friend of the Fanatics guys. We had the same score pretty much, though he only got 3 in a row wrong at the end. Chris, at least I'm above Chris, as we said. 4-8. Who else? Jaten from Fanatics, not doing too well either. Overall leaderboard for the month. James Bedell is top, Mr. Fanatics MMA. He is killing it up there.
20 and 20 too. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's wild. Where are you? Where am I? I don't even see myself. I'm so far down. Yeah, guys, if you haven't
charge,
that can be said. Leading the charge from 40th or something.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Damn.
Whoa, there's
There we
Drake,
are.
52. Really repping us well. Oh my God, where am I?
Oh,
I'm below
Chris.
Chris. 73rd. Let it be known I didn't make picks for one championship last or 2 weeks ago, so not that I would have got them right. It's become apparent I'm not very good at this picking thing. So, yeah, anyway, guys, if you haven't got the app yet, go download it. What are you doing? Yeah, we do this every week. We do previews and we do our recaps using Fanatics. If you haven't got it, go to getfanatics.app, download it, or you go to the App Store, Join in the fun. It's so easy. It's all free, no money. Really fun. Makes fight day, fight night, fight morning, wherever you are in the world, just that little bit extra fun. We have a chat group on there for every group you're in. Join our SCMP MMA group, and you can talk to all of us from the show, all of the people in the comments here. Some of them are in there. Just a bit of fun. Livens up the fight night process. But anyway, we've got a little time for a couple of questions, so just swing it back over here to the comment section. Should the UFC cut Angela Hill? She loses 2 more times. Might be harsh. She's ridden to the rescue a couple of times, I think, to save some of their cards.
Yeah. I think she'd have to lose pretty horribly at this stage because she's always going to be somebody willing to step in, I believe, which helps her secure a potential, lifetime spot with the UFC. They love that shit. So she would have to perform very, very poorly, which is probably unlikely despite how good strawweight is. Maybe she just gets some real bad matchups. It is possible, but I don't think the chances are very good of that happening. So
also, yeah, I don't know if you mentioned it there, but Angela has a bit of analyst work with them as well.
Right.
I think, yeah, she's being groomed for the desk, I think. So, yeah, I don't see them cutting her. She has a pretty good relationship. Some other comments and questions here. We'll try and get to all of them we can in time. Ty Druken saying, I love Blaydes, but this is the best thing that could happen. Cleans up the mess of the heavyweight division and lets the title fights happen with Jones and Ngannou. Division needed to breathe. Alan Bones Jones asking if Overeem gets cut, how would Overeem versus Ryan Bader or Overeem versus Brandon Vera? I don't think Overeem's going to go anywhere, Drake. If he finishes or gets cut, he's probably done. He wanted that UFC belt, right? It's Bellator 1 is not appealing to him, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's already realizing that he's at the end of the road. So if he doesn't retire right now, which I think is very possible, I don't think the UFC is even going to cut him. And if they were to, then he'd for sure retire. I think he's totally aware of, how long he's been fighting for and the fact that he just got finished in a fight that he didn't perform very well in. We could have already seen the last of Overeem. So unfortunately, we would miss out on some of those fantasy matchups like that. But I mean, the guy's fought everybody as is. I don't think we can ask anything more from him. And he deserves to ride off in its sunset whenever. And I believe that would be potentially now, unless he fights one more time. And I think that would probably be it because he's not getting a title shot anytime soon, and he knows that now. So if he fights one more time, I'll say it right now. I think the next fight would be his last for sure, and it'll be in the UFC.
And another one from Alan. Who should Edson Barboza's last UFC fight be against if he doesn't resign? Sorry. I would love Cub Swanson versus Edson.
Yep, I love it too. That's all. It's a good matchup.
That's all,
That's all I got to say. It's great.
Simple man there. I think that's about it for questions. Anyone else, get them in quickly if you want. Otherwise, Drake, we can wrap it up there. We're coming up on that 1 hour and a half sweet spot. And there is a question. Why do people underestimate Whaley's wrestling and jiu-jitsu? Where do we finish on that one?
I feel like I think somebody asked me this exact question recently because I feel like I got deja vu right there. Somebody straight up it might have been on WMA Today earlier this week. So shout out to a shameless plug there for my Wednesday show you guys can catch. It's all about what's going on with the women in the sport. We do that weekly over at The Scrap. You can see it on my Twitter and all that stuff I post about it. But I answered this question at some point recently. I think that the reason for people underestimating Whaley's wrestling and jiu-jitsu is because, well, that's not where she's most comfortable as a striker. That's where her background began, just where she's at her best overall. Not to say that she's not good in the grappling department, because we have seen that in her run up into the UFC. But the problem why people underestimate her is because you have to realize no matter how hardcore of a hardcore you are, most people really into MMA still don't follow the Chinese MMA scene. And Whaley's entire career pretty much was in Kunlun Fight, which exclusively in China. And, I followed her and everything, and there are people who did, but a lot of people still only know about Wei Li's abilities from her UFC run, which has not included a lot of wrestling or ground game, what have you. Of course, she did get that submission over Jessica Aguilar, the wonderful triangle and the elbows in tight. And then she did get some takedowns on Tisha Torres, but like not at that same success level of some of the submissions that she did pull off in Kunlun. So I think it's just a matter of lack of, knowing about her until she got to the UFC is why people might not give her the credit she deserves in her overall game just yet. And, as I said, she's just more comfortable starting things out on the feet and keeping it there if she doesn't have to go to the ground. So it's a nice thing in her back pocket, as we have learned, and if you have followed her. But the reason people don't give her respect for it just yet is the fact that they don't need to, because she wins on the feet more often than not, and because they haven't got to see it displayed earlier on in her career. So that's just how it goes.
Just realized I've got invisible headset for the whole show.
You do, huh?
Yeah, I'm gone now.
Completely gone.
This is fun. The green screen or the blue screen. Still figuring all that out. But Sammy saying, yeah, I watched her Kunlun fights on YouTube. Now Drake's messing with the background. Mm-hmm. I thought you were in front of a brick wall, for real. Yeah, and ground and wrestling is solid and has good fundamentals. Yeah, why don't we wrap it up there? Great chat. Thanks, Drake, again, as always. Really enjoyed the show and this show. And yeah, give us some plugs. Where can people find you? What have you got coming up?
All right, at @DrakeRiggs_ for Twitter and Instagram. More on Twitter, more silly stuff on Instagram, but I do post some of the stuff that I do there too, of course, because gotta get it all out. What do I have coming up? What do I have out? Well, recently spoke with Carol Hosa, who's now ranked at number 14 in the bantamweight division. You can see that on mymmanews.com, on my YouTube channel. All the videos always go there, youtube.com/DrakeRiggs. I also spoke to Shigeru Saeki, got to get that pronunciation right, who is the Deep founder. Of course, Deep 100 Impact, the big 20th anniversary show is happening, I believe, in a couple of hours, if my time zones are all correct here, but that'll be a very big show over at the Tokyo, the Tokyo Dome Hall, something like that. I don't remember the exact name of the venue, but should be a very good show, especially if you want to follow some of these fantastic Japanese fighters. Lots of action there. Spoke with him about the event a little bit and a lot more, but we're saving that for a special occasion. And then, got some things lined up coming up here soon and starting tomorrow. Maybe some more Broaden Horizon coming your guys' way, of course. Ooh. Getting back in the swing of that. So,
busy times.
Never show my hand until things are official, but, working on it. And then, of course, going to be on the ground here in 2 weeks. We're fingers crossed, hoping. Right?
Yep, fingers crossed. I cannot wait for that. If you are hoping to get Drake to UFC 259,
I'll be in Vegas crossed. No matter what. Now I'm just gonna, whatever happens, I'm gonna be there.
Yeah, we did sort of finish the show, but I did enjoy this comment from Dorji here saying, "Hi guys, good afternoon from India. You all look so identical."
Do we now?
Yeah, the two white boys holding it down today. We missed John. John couldn't make it. I think Drake's got better facial hair than me, though. Cannot say otherwise. We both recently shaved. He left the tash on, but you had this old beard going as well.
Yep.
And he had a question there as well. Sorry, what was it? Did Curtis get discouraged after Lewis stopped his first takedown attempt? Hence, his knockout takedown effort was lethargic. Quickly,
I don't know. He didn't try very hard for the first one. He gave up on it a little bit. Like you would think I would have thought he would have pursued that a bit more. But I don't know. An interesting approach overall from Curtis, I think. And I think that, he just found himself having success with the striking and wanted to stay there for the most part. And then it cost him when he decided to go for a takedown. He ducked right into that uppercut. It's crazy how this sport works. But,
and I'll get this one finally. Quick prediction for Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. I'm going for Leon Edwards. I think it's going to be too soon for Bilal, maybe to go against this class of opposition, and quite soon removed from the fight he had last week, and his leg took a lot of damage in there. I think it's going to be too much for him. Leon's going to put on a show.
Yeah, it is funny how it is a guy who's making a very quick turnaround and then a guy who hasn't fought in a good while. Yeah, you said quick. I have plenty to say about this matchup. I really like it, but I'm going to say Leon still.
Yeah, we'll get into that one, Alan, a bit more closer to the fight. But otherwise, yeah, I think I'm getting the go-home call from my stomach. I'm really hungry. I haven't had breakfast today, and it's now 2:30 p.m. So I got to get some food.
Some popcorn here.
Oh, yeah, well, I've got nothing. For me, we're going to have Kevin Lee on interview up soon with Tom Taylor. I've got Angela Lee on Tuesday. She's going to be talking about her younger sister, Victoria, who's making a One Championship debut on next Friday. And we'll, of course, be doing a fight companion for that show. Fists of Fury One Championship is back in Singapore, February 26th. A few other things in the works, I think, next week. If you haven't seen it already, go check out JHK's interview with Jan Blachowicz. That's blowing up on our channel. A lot of interaction. A lot of sites have been covering it, which is always great to see. SCMP MMA getting a bit of recognition and a bit more reach out there in MMA. It's cool to see. The Mac Life covered it. I think a few others, John was telling me. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. If not, we'll see you all again Tuesday for some. I'm sure we'll be back with a podcast. Yeah, and John will have his show on Thursday. I don't know who the guest is. So, as always, we'll be here 3 or 4 times next week. Come join us. UFC will be back as well for a recap on Sunday. What is it next week?
More heavyweights.
More heavyweights. Gann and Rosenstruck, right? Okay. Yeah, can't wait for that one. But anyway, we've gone long enough. So I'm going to say good night and good luck to everyone out there. See you again next time.